The impeachment trial of President Donald Trump dominated the media landscape in the U.S. Senate this week. Now, White House counsel Pat Cipollone and his team made their case for acquittal, while the House managers, Democratic House managers, repeated their arguments that the president had to be removed from office. Joining me now with analysis of the trial and what precedent it could establish is political commentator and former U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, Joe DiGenova. Joe D., thank you for being here.
Great to be here.
What a pleasure. Now, this week, really, we saw a lot of pressure being applied to those four moderate Republican senators trying to get those witnesses to the fore. They want more witnesses. It looks like that effort's going to fail. Nancy Pelosi said without witnesses, new witnesses, this acquittal is not authentic. It's a fraud. Your reaction?
Nancy Pelosi has become an anarchist and a seditionist. She is undercutting her own case that she sent to the United States Senate. She's telling the Senate, my case isn't worthy. So if you acquit the president without more witnesses that aren't mine, it's not an acquittal. This is an assault. This is a deconstruction of the United States Constitution by Pelosi. I'm going to repeat. She is acting in a seditious way, in a subversive way. She has no right to do that and say that. That is a disgrace. This is her case. This is what she sent. This is what they speeded up so they could run it over there after they held it for a month so they could prepare their infomercial. What you've seen for the last 2 weeks from the Democrats is a slickly prepared political commercial. They repeated it over and over and over. And
with slides and video, and they even had I couldn't believe the book.
Extremely professional, very well done. And of course, the problem with it is, it's where's the beef? It's all bread. There's no meat in the bread.
Do you think that's why she delayed handing the articles over? They were producing the...
Yeah, no, that was the clear reason, and I give them credit, was to prepare all of this slick presentation stuff. And it was very, very nice. I liked it as a television person who watches. I thought it was beautifully done. It lacked only one thing, substance. And because the two articles of impeachment are completely ill-founded under the Constitution. And here's the other thing about it. Schiff has a way of being really nasty. He doesn't like the people on the other side. He tries to demean them. It's a Saul Alinsky tactic. Demean, besmirch, undo the people on the other side, make fun of them, ridicule them. He did that with Alan Dershowitz. He said Alan Dershowitz is a criminal defense lawyer. Right. He did that purposely. He didn't want to call him a constitutional scholar, which Alan clearly is. So that shows you the mentality of the prosecution. I think they failed miserably. And by the way, my heart simply leapt when I saw that lawyer, the guy, Eric, I can't remember his name. Yeah. He was from the firm in New York. When he deconstructed the Biden family on the second day, it was brilliant. I was riveted. I couldn't believe it. And I said, this is the Rubicon. They have crossed it. This case is over. And this case is now about the Bidens. Yeah. It's not about Trump.
But the Democrat managers brought up the Bidens.
They opened the door. And I said, hallelujah. They've opened up. All they did from the beginning was talk about the Bidens and how they didn't do anything wrong. The answer to that is, oh, yes, they did.
I got to ask you about John Bolton, the former national security advisor. This book spills onto the pages of the New York Times, at least presumed excerpts. Now, the book alleges that the president told Bolton in August of last year that aid was withheld from Ukraine to force them to investigate the Bidens. But around the same time, he told Radio Free Europe the conversations between the two countries were warm and cordial. How credible is John Bolton?
Well, this is a sad moment for me. I've known John for almost 40 years, and I think this is an act of treachery. I think it's disgraceful. I think it's sad. I think it's embarrassing for him, not the president. Who knows what happened in a conversation? This president says lots of things. And you know what? It doesn't matter what he says, constitutionally or legally. What matters is what he does. He gave them the only lethal aid they ever got. They got no lethal aid from the Obama administration. What did they get from Trump? Everything they wanted. So, and ask yourself this question. This is the point that settles the case against John Bolton. There was no reason to release this book now. The reason you know he wanted it leaked and he wanted it out before the verdict was because he had the book for publication before the verdict. You don't do that to a president that you work for, even if you don't like him. It's unprofessional, it's unseemly, it's sleazy, but more than anything else, it's disloyal.
Now, Simon & Schuster, his publisher, as well as his agents, claim they did not leak it. I will point out, this is the same publisher and agents that represented James Comey, and they leaked to the same reporters.
Yada, yada, yada. Here's what they said. They used a very interesting choice of words, very legal. The publisher denied that it coordinated the leak. They used a very careful word. I don't know what that means. That's like abuse of power. Tell me what it means. They didn't coordinate the leak. I think they leaked it. I think the publisher leaked it. And who knows, they might have done it in conjunction with somebody at the NSC. They might have helped the people at the NSC who were villainous.
Who were reviewing the document
say, hey,
to
we
make
can get this out for you. Who do you? And we have someone to take it. Is that okay with you guys?
I got to ask you about Alan Dershowitz. You raised him a moment ago. Now, he had what some are calling a rather unusual take on quid pro quo regarding the president's actual or perceived intentions on that perfect call. I want to get your take on this.
As a matter of law, does it matter if there was a quid pro quo? Is it true that quid pro quos are often used in foreign policy?
If a president does something which he believes will help him get elected in the public interest, that cannot be the kind of quid pro quo that results in impeachment.
So he went on to make the case that if the president does something that's in the common good of the country and it helps him politically, there's nothing impeachable there.
It's an unimpeachable statement. I must say that everything that Alan said is 100% true, and I love it because what's great about it is that it's blatantly true. I mean, let's take for example how Barack Obama says to President Medvedev, "Please tell Mr. Putin, just wait till after the election. I'll have more flexibility." Well, I might have been offended by that, but it wasn't an impeachable offense. It was stupid. It was corrosive. It was embarrassing to the United States. It made President Obama look like a lackey of the Soviet Union, and more important than anything else, it made him look subservient and weak.
But a lot of people are taking Alan Dershowitz to the woodshed for this commentary. Mostly scholars and, you know, those in the scribbler class.
Scholars. I met one once in an alley. They're hard to tell from the thugs.
You think this is all politically motivated?
Oh, this is clearly politically motivated. I'm sure people like Lawrence Tribe at Harvard, the guy who always wanted to be on the Supreme Court and never will be. It's wonderful. It's like Hillary not being president. It's thrilled to me that she wakes up every morning totally depressed because she never was, never will be president. But Alan Dershowitz is being attacked by all the people who made the exact arguments under Clinton that they're now making now to go after Trump. I mean, this is all silly. This is, you know what this is? This is faculty lounge arguing. They're all idiots, except for Alan. He's brilliant. Because he's on my side.
I got to tell you, just from a theatrical point of view,
oh, he's great.
He dominated the room.
Yeah.
He asks the rhetorical questions, hand in the pocket. He's answering his own questions. He looks at the defense. He ruled the room. They can all take lessons from Alan Dershowitz. Just style.
And let me just tell you something. The president's team, from top to bottom, has been spectacular because they had a plan. And the plan was destroy the prosecution, but more importantly, make this case about the Bidens. And they have succeeded immeasurably.
Okay, I want to play this for you. This is Adam Schiff, rather, the manager for the Democrats. And he pushed hard for witnesses, really, all week long, particularly John Bolton. Here's what he argued this week when asked about witnesses and the president's motivation for asking Ukraine to investigate corruption.
There's no way to have a fair trial without witnesses. And when you have a witness who is as plainly relevant as John Bolton, I would also add in response to the last question that if any part of the president's motivation was a corrupt motive, if it was a causal factor in the action to freeze the aid or withhold the meeting, that is enough to convict. It would be enough to convict under criminal law.
Is the president's motive enough to convict under criminal law? How do you figure out his motive?
Alan, Adam Schiff is a very silly man in a very important and momentous moment that he and the nutzos in the House created for the American people. and he's just dead wrong, and he knows it. But here's what Schiff has done. He and Pelosi and Nadler have subscribed to the Joseph Goebbels theory of government, which is government by propaganda and the big lie. This case is the best example of the Nazi big lie that you could ever find. A false case against an honorably elected president of the United States, trying to dethrone him, not because of anything he has done, but because they do not like him, because the person that they wanted didn't win, and they don't like the fact that he's accomplishing so much for this country. The truth is, these folks on the Democratic side, they just don't like America.
You mentioned the congressional inertia. The president brought this up at a rally in New Jersey. Listen.
While we are creating jobs and killing terrorists, the congressional Democrats are obsessed with demented hoaxes, crazy witch hunts, and deranged partisan crusades. It's all they know how to do. The do-nothing Democrats.
Joe, I was amazed this week. The president signed the USMCA. Now, whether you like him or don't like him, this is the biggest trade deal maybe in the last 30 years.
Yes.
It's bipartisan. It's a major landmark legislative accomplishment that he accomplished with the Pelosi House. Signed this thing into law. It got no coverage. They were covering Lev Parnas walking from Union Station to the Senate, trying to get a ticket to watch the impeachment trial.
The mainstream media and the Democratic Party are one and the same. Regrettably, the American media has surrendered its right under the First Amendment to pretend to protect it. They are spending it. These are wastrels. They have taken the gorgeous currency of the First Amendment and they have misspent it. They have wasted it on hate for the president. It's a very sad thing. When I was a little boy, I was 12 years old, my parents asked me what I wanted for my birthday. I said I want a subscription to the New York Times. I have had the New York Times since then, all my life. I have never been more disappointed in an institution than the New York Times. They are a trendsetter, and the trend is very, very down.
I want to play this for you. This is White House counsel Pat Cipollone in his concluding remarks this week, where he called for the end of this trial. Watch.
Overturning the last election and massively interfering with the upcoming one would cause serious and lasting damage to the people of the United States and to our great country. The Senate cannot allow this to happen. It is time for this to end, here and now.
Adam Schiff, Gerald Nadler, and others I've spoken with this week say, no, 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 we are protecting everyone for manipulation of the upcoming election and protecting the country from an errant commander-in-chief.
With no evidence to support that, they are purveying the big lie. They have to say that. This is what they have. This is what. And now they may genuinely believe this, in which case the level of dementedness of their political positions is even more gross than I thought it was. But the truth is, this has always been about nullifying the 2016 election because they don't think he's worthy of the office, and she was. And what they've done is they've harmed the country, they've harmed the Constitution, they've wasted valuable public time on problems that need to be solved, and they've reelected him at the same time.
Joe DiGenova, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you.
here. We
Thank
shall
you,
talk
Raymond.
in the days ahead. Thanks again.